Greetings and welcome to this edition of Dharma Dirt from the old dog Zendo at Iron Mountain. I was once asked by a friend if I was opposed to the death penalty. My reply really disappointed him. I said that I was opposed to the death penalty in the same way that I was opposed to hurricanes, lightning strikes, tornadoes, and earthquakes. I went on to say that if someone on death row asked me to help him deal with his situation, I'd be there for him immediately to help him get through what he had to get through. But I would not sign petitions for commutation or crusade against the death penalty itself. I would not try to rescue him from the karmic consequences of his actions. The Buddha didn't rescue anyone either. Angulimala was a serial killer who had murdered nearly 1,000 innocent people. One day he encountered the Buddha, who converted him, and he became a saint, a midwife who for many years helped bring life into the world. But he died horribly, fatally beaten by relatives of his victims. He died in the Buddha's arms, but no rescue there. No one can be rescued. Sometimes we see an inexplicable instance of violence, and we have to wonder why. What the heck is wrong with whoever committed it? This is not something we associate with serious Zen practitioners, and certainly not with the great Zen masters of the past. But there is one koan in which an ancient master commits what seems to be a wanton killing of the innocent, a clear violation of the first precept. Or is it? Bodhidharma said, "Self-nature is inconceivably wondrous. In the realm of the everlasting Dharma, not giving rise to the idea of killing is called the precept of not killing." That brings up the question, is it ever possible to kill without giving rise to the idea or the thought of killing? Who among us could possibly do that? Now, I'm not talking about accidents. Of course, if your car hits a rabbit or a squirrel, it wasn't deliberate. But in this case, there was no accident. This is case number 14 in the Nanquan. It goes like this. Master Nanquan found monks of the eastern and western halls arguing about a cat. He held up the cat and said, "Everyone, if you can say a word, I will spare this cat. If you cannot, I will cut off its head." No one could say a word, so Nanquan cut the cat in two. That evening, Zhao Zhou returned from outside, and Nanquan told him what happened. Zhao Zhou removed a sandal from his foot, put it on his head, and walked out. Nanquan said, "If you would have been there, you would have saved the cat." This case is unique in all the koan curriculum of the Sanbo tradition, and maybe not in a good way. Unlike any other case that I know of, it is of a deliberate death threat, followed by a literal killing. Master Nanquan found monks of the eastern and western halls arguing about a cat. He held up the cat and said, "Everyone, if you can say a word, I will spare this cat. If you cannot, I will cut off its head." No one could say a word, So Nanquan cut the cat in two. This brings us up against it, up against the bloody reality of injustice, murder, wanton killing of the innocent. Oh, monks, where is your practice now? Your serenity, your calm. And don't think that you can rationalize this act out of existence. Oh, he didn't really kill the cat. Maybe he just mimed with a knife and put down the cat. Maybe he said, "You could not answer," and let the cat go. No. This is arguing with the koan. Apocryphal or not, we have to accept the story as it is. What were the monks arguing about that drove Nanquan to such an extreme action? Were they arguing over possession? Or maybe over whether the cat has the Buddha nature or not? That could be a legitimate question, since the cat is considered to be outside the way because it refused to do obeisance to the Buddha. Anyone who has a cat will understand. But here, voices were raised, arms were waving. Was anyone threatening violence? Enter the master. He grabs the cat and holds it up. "If you can say a word, I will spare this cat. If you cannot, I will cut off his head." No one answers. Slash! And there stands Nanquan, the avenging angel. A slaughtered cat in one hand, a bloody knife in the other. Suppose I gave you a kitten and a large, very sharp knife. Could you do it? A psychopath could easily. Was Nanquan a psychopath? Why so drastic an action? Maybe he was really angry at his students for their failure to reach an accord. Maybe he expected someone to say or do something. But when they all failed to respond, he had no choice. He was stuck. The worst thing you can do is threaten a drastic action and then not do it. These monks in their quarreling had totally given up their practice, their monastic vocation, even their basic humanity. So, Nanquan forcibly takes them back to that most basic question, the question that brought them to practice and to the monastery in the first place: life and death. There are times when wise counsel, admonishment, scolding simply have no effect. The drastic nature of Nanquan's action tells us just how serious this situation was. As a Zen teacher who has taught at many sesshin, I have to ask myself, if the student suddenly began quarreling over a kitten, a puppy, or even a guppy, and the entire sesshin was in danger of falling apart, how would I react? I don't know. I doubt I would find it necessary to kill an animal, or even threaten to. By its very extremity, this koan throws us into a tizzy. We get so caught up in our feelings and notions about compassion, no killing, do no harm, and so forth. We could spend hours, days, speculating over why. And that just traps us in the samsara of cause and effect. Obsess over Nanquan's state of mind, his motives, his purpose, and we will become just as trapped as the monks faced with Nanquan's ultimatum. But all that stuff about mental states and so on is irrelevant because we can never know. What is relevant to us is the action. It is action, intended action, that drives karma. But understand, all karma is the karma of each one of us. There is no such thing as my karma, your karma, Nanquan's karma, the cat's karma, or the monk's karma. Each one of us is living the karma of this moment. The karma that springs from everything that has ever happened. There is no separation. You are Nanquan and the knife. You are the innocent cat. You are the paralyzed monks. All the fantasies we might entertain about rescuing the cat are nothing more than the ego's self trying to feel better about it. And you see what we've been doing? We created a separate being and called it Nanquan. And we put this being on a pedestal labeled Master Nanquan. And we included all the baggage that comes with names and titles. We all too often place the masters on a pedestal, and then they do something we disapprove of. Our reaction is overblown, or we make excuses. They did what they did. We have to drop the myth of agency. Did Nanquan kill the cat? Is there such an agent as Nanquan? This brings up the Buddha's parable of the empty boat. A monk was seeking a place to meditate quietly. He tried several places in the forest, but each time he sat down to meditate, something interrupted him. A branch fell, an animal skittered by, a bird flew near. Finally, he stood up and looked around, and he saw a lake with a boat tethered nearby. Thinking this would be ideal, he got into the boat and rowed away from the shore. While he was sitting out there in meditation, suddenly another boat banged into his boat. Anger arose in him, and he stood up, preparing to berate the idiot who bumped into him. To his astonishment, he saw that the other boat was empty. It had been blown into his boat by the wind. With that, his anger disappeared. Thereafter, he realized that there was no reason ever to be angry at another, for he saw all others as empty boats, and that the anger was within himself. All are empty boats. Nanquan, the cat, you, me, the monks. This is not a clever way to avoid dealing with dismemberment and death. There is still killing, and the karma that comes from killing. And we have to be careful here. The Zen way of looking at this is that the cat is empty, Nanquan is empty, the knife is empty. The monks had to see that there was no cat, no Nanquan, no knife, no killing. But how one-sided is that? This is like the 15th century Japanese swordmaster monk Nanquan instructing his samurai students. He said, "The mind is not detained by the hand that brandishes the sword. Completely oblivious to the hand that wields the sword, one strikes and cuts his opponent down. He does not put his mind in his adversary. The opponent is emptiness, I am emptiness, the hand that holds the sword itself is emptiness." Yen Wu would say that this is carrying a board. Imagine carrying a 1x12 on your shoulder. It blocks out half your vision. You only see one side. But the other side is still there. The death, the blood, the carnage that remains after a battle with razor-sharp swords. So, Nanquan, you, I, the monks, all experience the karma of this act. Nanquan's state of mind is not relevant. His reasons are not relevant. What is relevant is our state of mind. How do we react to this story? Maybe it seems like I'm being cold and uncaring. But just how useful are the usual emotional reactions? Of how much use is our own reaction, our outrage? What is the direct experience of that moment? In that moment, is there killing? Not killing? Where do we begin? A parable like that of the empty boat helps. But neither can we dismiss the world of time, space, and karma. Nanquan will suffer the consequences of his actions, and so will we. The functioning of the universe in all its complexity, its glory, its horror, is none other than each of us. When Nanquan kills the cat, each one of us kills the cat. All the Zen in the world will not erase the bloodshed. Koans are not about Nanquan, Baizhang, Deshan, Dongshan, or any of those guys. They're about you and me. They are you and me. But it is only when body and mind drop away that we clearly see that. That evening, Zhao Zhou returned from outside, and Nanquan told him what happened. Zhao Zhou removed a sandal from his foot, put it on his head, and walked out. Nanquan said, "If you would have been there, you would have saved the cat." In his commentary, Wu Men wants to know why Zhao Zhou placed his sandal on his head. In ancient China, placing one's shoes on one's head was a sign of mourning. What was Zhao Zhou mourning? The cat? The innocent who died? Or was it the monks who were paralyzed and could not respond? Or was it Nanquan, who was forced to kill because of his own threat? Or is it us, who puzzle over this case for weeks, months, maybe lifetimes? Zhao Zhou instantly saw clearly the empty boat that was Nanquan. Unencumbered with any anger, not paralyzed by confusion or attachment, he acted instantly. He took off his sandal, placed it on his head, and walked out. And Nanquan remarked, If you had been there, you would have saved the cat. Well, how does he know? What did you see in Zhao Zhou's response that told him what would have happened? Or is Nanquan just hoping that Zhao Zhou would somehow have rescued the cat? This is another unique aspect of this case. Masters are not normally into such predictions. If this is, then that will be. If you had been there, what? And Wu Man presents his verse to this case. Now remember, this incident is said to have taken place around the 8th century of the Common Era. And Wu Men is looking back from the 12th century. But he says, had Zhao Zhou been there, he would have taken charge. He would have snatched away the sword, and Nanquan would have begged for his life. Oh dear. Do you see what Wu Men is doing? Wu Men is making another prediction. In his verses, Wu Men usually comments upon the fact. Here he is speculating. Fact is, we don't know what Zhao Zhou would do. Nanquan doesn't know. Zhao Zhou doesn't know. Wu Men doesn't know either, even though he might claim to. Zhao Zhou might well have taken some kind of action. On the other hand, he might just have remained silent, bearing witness to a necessary, if harsh, lesson for the monks. Wu Men is engaging in wishful thinking about rescuing the cat. There is no rescuing the cat. There is no rescuing of Nanquan. There is no rescuing of the monks or even of Wu Men. Nothing and no one is rescued. What happened, happened. As lay practitioners, where do we seek our own enlightenment, our own great peace? In the turmoil and confusion of our messy, turbulent, emotional lives in the world, in the passions, in the tearful and angry confrontations between husband and wife, parents and children, in unjust work rules or biased juries and official misconduct, in the angry, hate-driven verbal and sometimes physical battles we are seeing in this never-ending political season. Where do we find the personal experience of the transcendent? No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, or mind. That is our assignment with this koan or any koan. Bombs drop, we bear witness. Mass murders happen, we bear witness. Nanquan kills a cat, we bear witness. There are also acts of courage, compassion, generosity. A maniac enters a classroom with a gun and the students overcome him. I have a cousin who made a habit of rescuing injured animals. Maybe some of the monks eventually get it, and we bear witness. This bearing witness can evolve into genuine, compassionate action. Action that springs from clear seeing and not knowing. Not knowing. We cannot predict until the moment it happens. And together with all beings, we realize the way.